This is a very different With the Force. I want to talk about some of my earliest Star Wars memories in honor of a dear friend. This might not be the right place to talk about it, but it feels right, and I think that's what matters. When we were young, we used to hide out in my parents' basement. The three of us would play. You were always Han Solo. Your little brother was always Luke Skywalker, and I was always Leia. My older brother would be Darth Vader, mainly because he was older, bigger, and would occasionally get annoyed with us. So he would only come in to effectively scare us as much as he could, because he got a kick out of how we would scream and run away. There we were, imagining we were saving the day or running away or dealing with droids. And he would jump out from around a corner with a wrapping paper tube as a lightsaber that had been stripped of its wrapping, I'm sure to my mother's chagrin. This was the 80s. Wrapping paper was expensive. We would grab our own wrapping paper tubes and have endless lightsaber battles until one of the paper tubes folded in half and one of us was disappointed, throwing it aside, saying, "Oh no, the lightsaber broke." I always insisted on having my own lightsaber because, of course, Leia would be a Jedi. She would get her own lightsaber. That just made sense. We really liked to play in our own world of imagination, usually struggling with bounty hunters or attempts to escape from Vader, running, jumping, ducking, hiding. This world was as real as the movies. We would build it in the moment, change the plot, the enemies, the worlds that we would visit would be unique and interesting and from our imagination, and they would shift and move on the fly. We would take on new narrative bents where we changed what was happening in the story, exploring our own dreams of what Star Wars could be. At some points, my brother didn't want me involved because I was a girl and I shouldn't like these things. You always ensured I had a place in our pretend stories, and I was even encouraged to rescue Han and Luke. Many cold and snowy days were spent that way. Outside in the backyard, it was filled with snow, and of course it was Hoth. We would build snow forts that were the rebel base and make sure we had snowballs that were our own weapons, our ion control cannons, and anything approaching would be an Imperial walker. I think one day we even managed to make a tauntaun sort of out of a snow-covered bike. That was not a very smart idea. It was very cold. I remember many replays of the Mos Eisley Cantina, and Han definitely shot first. These moments shaped our childhood, goofing around in the basement or the backyard or the playground, building piles of couch cushions at one end of the living room so we could have more epic escapes, launching ourselves into the pile of cushions. And then suddenly those would morph into the rebel base on Hoth or trees where we were attacking stormtroopers on Endor. We grew, we became adults. I saw, though you were troubled, you grew into the hero I always saw you as. Star Wars references were never too far from our lips, but we went on different paths. You lived further away, and I only saw you occasionally. I had no doubt you would continue to be a hero, just like you were to me. I found this story out only later, but I think it really represents what you did every day. You were sent away to school, and soon you arrived in a new environment and saw one of the kids was being bullied. You called your dad and asked him how these terrible things could happen. How could this exist? How could people be so cruel? He tried to help you out, but it's hard to be there and give advice when you're remote and you're not in the situation. Either way, you had made up your mind. You would befriend this kid and be there for him. And you were there for countless other people. You made his life better, and you made so many other people's lives better. That's the way you were back then. Just a hero, but you didn't want thanks, you didn't want praise, you didn't want reward. You had a sense of right and wrong. When you moved across country to pursue your dreams, I know you continued to struggle. You had your dark side. You had your own demons. I know you lived on the street for a while, but you never asked for help. You just did things your own way. You were a philosopher, a friend, an advocate, a very handsome athlete, I might say. And you were there for people who also struggled in your community. When you managed to pick yourself up and finally finish your law degree, and you were working towards becoming a social justice advocate for others, I thought of that little boy who was my hero, saving others when they needed you. But I was never able to save you like when we were children. It's been a year since you left, and you didn't leave at peace like a Jedi. Though you had your own philosophy of life, you left trying to escape your own troubled past. You could never find the balance that Star Wars was always trying to teach us. I miss my Han Solo terribly. You were my first hero, even in pretend. You brought magic into this world and made heroes real. Star Wars is closely tied to the people we experience it with. Whether it's watching it curled up on the couch, eating popcorn, or running around an imaginary world, we live and we communicate with Star Wars as our shared experiences. These stories blend with our stories. They are our stories. I think that's why Star Wars is so deeply personal for people. It makes up their DNA as much as any formative memory. When Star Wars clicks with you, it's permanent. It's made into a piece of your heart. Just like you are, my friend. We experience Star Wars together, and so anytime that I think about Star Wars, you're there. I think other people probably have stories like this as children, these formative experiences that somehow move us towards the light. I wonder if there's anything I could have done to save you and helped you with your darkness. I miss you, my dear friend. If something like the Force exists, I hope that you are with it, that you are at peace, and that you can find the balance that you didn't know in life. May the Force be with you, Jeff.